Ready for another deep dive.
Absolutely. Always eager to explore something new.
Great. Well, today we're going to take a look at this poetry collection, Princeton Quietudes.
Oh, interesting. I haven't come across this one before.
Yeah, by Manuel del Valle y Colón. And it's fascinating because the entire collection was sparked by a very specific event, the first ever reunion of the Association of Latino Princeton Alumni. It happened way back in March of 2017.
So the poetry is a direct response to that reunion.
It is, it is. But as you dig deeper into these poems, you realize they go so much further than just that event. They grapple with these, much bigger themes of loss and friendship, the power of memory, the nature of work, even something he calls ghetto scars.
Ghetto scars.
Yeah.
That's quite a powerful image. It sounds like he's exploring the lasting impacts of both personal and societal experiences.
Exactly. And you'll find these reflections on modern life, how we interact with technology, that search for meaning that we all seem to go through, and even ancient cultures like Mayan sculptors, the idea of a mother goddess.
And does he weave in any contemporary anxieties? I mean, we're living in pretty uncertain times.
Oh, absolutely. Concerns about the future, vulnerability, even the fear of atomic war. So to really appreciate the nuances here, we need to understand a bit about Manuel del Valle himself. Luckily, his preface gives us a pretty clear picture. So he was born in East Harlem in 1948, grew up in housing projects, the Carver houses, Douglas projects, went through the public school system, then on to Brooklyn Technical High School.
A very New York City upbringing. Did his early life hint at his later path?
There are definitely some clues. Even in high school, he was super active in the Aspira Club, working with people like Wilfredo Caraballo, Fernanda Ferrer, and Antonia Pantoja, the founder of Aspira. I mean, this woman was a force, such a visionary.
So he was already engaged with social issues and community work even then.
It seems so. He went on to do a postgraduate year at Yale, then moved on to Wesleyan University.
And did he stay put at Wesleyan?
He did for a while, but he was very active there, not just studying, but recruiting minority students and actually doing research into the whole concept of identity.
So even in his early academic life, you see these themes of inclusion and self-discovery emerging.
Right. Then he spent some time studying in Madrid and even at the University of Puerto Rico, all these different cultural experiences, really shaping his worldview.
Multiple perspectives enriching his understanding.
Totally. And then in 1969, he transfers to Princeton, majoring in history, Latin American studies, Afro-American studies. He really embraced those fields.
That's a fascinating combination, suggesting a real interest in the intersections of history, culture, and social dynamics.
Oh, for sure. But he wasn't just a student. He was, making things happen. He founded the Latino organization on campus and started a seminar on Puerto Rican history and politics, which was pretty groundbreaking at the time.
That's a pretty active approach, not just absorbing knowledge, but pushing for inclusion and representation.
And his senior thesis wasn't some dry academic thing that just sat on a shelf. It was about Puerto Rican students and public education. And get this, it ended up being part of a U.S. Civil Rights Commission hearing, and he actually used in the Aspira v. Board of Education case, which had a huge impact on bilingual education in New York City.
So his research had real-world impact, contributing to social change. That's impressive.
Yeah. After Princeton, he taught for a bit at Phillips Andover Academy, then decided to pursue law at Yale. Graduated in '74 alongside some pretty notable classmates, Clarence Thomas and Lonnie Guigné.
Wow, that's quite a cohort to be a part of.
Right? And even while at Yale Law, he found time to teach courses on, guess what, Puerto Rican history and politics.
Yeah.
This guy was really committed to education.
It seems so. Always the teacher and advocate.
Definitely. After law school, he joins the Puerto Rican Legal Defense and Education Fund, gets involved with that landmark Asper case again, and works on Pabon v. Levine, which was all about making sure that Spanish-speaking people in New York got bilingual notices when applying for unemployment benefits.
Fighting for equitable access and fairness. A through line seems to be emerging.
Oh, absolutely. And his legal career took him to all sorts of places. He was a trial attorney for the U.S. Department of Labor for over a decade, an adjunct professor at both Fordham and back at Princeton, even a Rockefeller Foundation fellow over at the London School of Economics.
A diverse career, to say the least. What else?
Oh, he also worked as an arbitrator and became the chief administrative of the New York State Division of Human Rights, the first Puerto Rican to ever hold that position.
So when we're reading his poetry, we're not just dealing with abstract ideas. We're encountering the reflections of someone who's deeply engaged with the world, with social issues, with the law. with life, basically.
Exactly. So diving into Princeton Quietudes, we really need to keep that in mind. This isn't just a poet in isolation. It's someone who's lived a very full, very impactful life.
Right. His experiences are interwoven with his art.
Our mission here is to really uncover those key insights and the emotions within these poems, and to connect his personal journey to those broader human experience that he's writing about.
A meeting of the personal and the universal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even the title poem, Princeton Quietudes, sort of sets this tone, right? He writes, "We have come to forgive each other for the things we have said or left unsaid." There's this feeling of like reconciliation coming full circle with the people who shared that Princeton experience.
The sense of peace and understanding with those who've been part of that formative journey.
But then there are poems like Princeton Refugees, which present a much different perspective. He talks about dusk, dark travels, abhorrent smells, false and fake stillness of uncertainty, broken families, unrehearsed fantasies, heartbreak of multiple deaths. You get a sense of displacement, of really difficult journeys that people might have had to go through to even get to a place like Princeton.
It raises questions about privilege and the very different paths that people take to arrive at the same destination.
Then Ivy League Memories brings us into the, sensory details of his time there, the green lawns, the black asphalt walkways, even the snow and cold of winter. But it's not just nostalgia, right? He also remembers the chance for the freedom of persons we had never met, the confrontations, both personal and academic, the challenges to the powers that arrayed before us. It's a time of intellectual growth, but also social and political awakening.
That era was a time of immense social change, and it's fascinating to see how that was playing out within the context of an Ivy League institution.
Princeton Visions and Dreams, though, seems a bit more critical. He observes the dissident voices of Black men confronting the Caucasian presence, and how passive acceptance become the behemoth of opportunity costs, lost among the tatter of visions and dreams that signify so much more to do. You wonder if some of those initial ideals and hopes people brought with them to Princeton maybe faded a bit in the face of, opportunity and ambition.
It speaks to the compromises we sometimes make, the paths not taken, and the potential disillusionment that can come with navigating these prestigious spaces.
And then he shifts gears completely and brings in these super personal reflections. Like there's this poem, "It Is Your Birthday," written for someone who's no longer alive, just filled with this sense of loss and this wish that his own life could be as meaningful as theirs was.
That raw emotion, the grief and longing, it really humanizes him.
It does. And then You Did Not Ask My Permission to Pass, another poem that really just expresses the raw emotion of grief and loss for someone he clearly loved deeply.
These personal poems offer a window into the heart of the man behind the social commentary and the reflections on academia.
Absolutely. There's this one line, "I am a memory." It's so evocative, so simple, but so powerful. It makes you think about how we're all just memories in other people's minds.
And how our identities are shaped by how others remember us, or even misremember us. It's quite profound.
Right. Then there's A Black Faces in White Spaces, which just completely rejects that whole idea of segregated spaces. He says, "There are no white spaces, only spaces, gaps, locales belonging to us, the universe." It's a bold statement about belonging, about defying those constructed boundaries.
A powerful assertion of shared space and the right to be present, without qualification.
Turn the Clock Back expresses this deep longing, not to actually relive the past, but to have more fully appreciated those moments as they were happening. Especially, the simple joys of family life. It's that feeling that a lot of us get, right? Looking back and wishing we'd been more present.
That bittersweet pang of nostalgia, realizing the preciousness of the everyday moments that slip away so quickly.
And then Themes for Life kind of critiques corporate culture. He warns against mistaking the emergence of the corporate entity for a longevity that mirrors our career, and talks about the freedom lost in chasing salary and benefits. Like, are we really living when we're just grinding away for that paycheck?
A good reminder to examine our priorities and question whether we're sacrificing true fulfillment for the sake of material gain.
Absolutely. Then Scars, which is really powerful, links his personal experiences growing up in New York's ghetto streets to broader issues of identity and prejudice. He says those early scars are never erased by suits or ties, and how New York eyes can be so judgmental of anyone with an accent or darker skin. But there's also this sense of resilience, of finding strength through figures like Antonia Pantoja, that Boricua goddess who showed him a different path.
It speaks to the enduring impact of early life experiences, both positive and negative, and the importance of mentors who can guide us through challenging times.
Jump land is a really cool metaphor for embracing playfulness, taking risks, and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. He says, if we cannot jump, we cannot fall. And if we cannot fall, we cannot learn. And if we cannot learn, we die over and over. It's about embracing the unknown, right? And learning from those inevitable stumbles along the way.
A reminder that growth comes from taking leaps of faith and not being afraid to fail, because failure is often the best teacher.
For sure. Then there are poems that delve into those deeper philosophical questions, like Sharp Edge, which ponders the nature of existence. He suggests that there is no beginning and hence no end, much like this continuous metal groove he describes.
It's a meditation on cyclical patterns, the interconnectedness of things, and the vastness of time and existence.
And Store Your Shadow is so beautiful, using that metaphor of our shadow needing both exercise and rest. It's about acknowledging and tending to our inner selves, our past experiences, even the parts of ourselves that we might want to hide or forget.
It's a powerful message about self-awareness and integrating all aspects of our being, the light and the shadow.
The poems about mind sculptors and Mother Goddess bring in these elements of ancient cultures, making us think about those who came before us and connecting to those primal ideas of creation and power.
Expanding the scope to encompass history, mythology, and the enduring questions that humans have grappled with for millennia.
And finally, there are the poems that deal with our anxieties about the future, like Conflagration to Come and Atomic Dawn, reflecting on the possibility of both destruction and, maybe within that, a chance for renewal.
That tension between destruction and renewal is a constant in human history, and it certainly resonates with the anxieties of our current age.
So wrapping up our deep dive into Princeton Quietudes, it's clear that this collection is so much more than just about an alumni reunion. It's a journey through a life that's been rich with experiences, from the streets of East Harlem to the halls of Princeton and beyond.
And the recurring themes are so universal, so relatable. The complexities of memory, that search for belonging, confronting mortality, the passage of time, the importance of connection.
And it's so interesting how he weaves those personal reflections, like those birthday wishes for someone who's gone, with these broader societal critiques, like in Themes for Life and Scars.
And amidst those darker themes, there's also this thread of hope and resilience that shines through. The image of Princeton refugees finding their way, the idea of jump land, embracing risk and growth.
Which brings us to our final thought for you today, inspired by that poem, Store Your Shadow. What are those shadows you carry with you, those parts of your journey that maybe need a bit more attention, a bit of exercise or rest? How do you reconcile your past with who you are now and who you want to be? Take some time to reflect on that.
It's a powerful question that can lead to some really profound insights about ourselves and the journeys we're all on.
It is. And that wraps up our deep dive today. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.